right, we are here live with Dr. Shane, and it is Thursday, and it is March 28th.
28.
All
Yep.
right, Thursday, March 28th. And Dr. Shane, I believe it's working, but I'm early on in my Facebook Live career, so we're going to see how we do. Okay?
Yeah, that's going to work out just fine. I'm positive.
All right, great. Okay, so let's start first with just asking the question. So, who are you and what do you do and how do you help people?
Sure. All right. Well, thanks. First of all, thanks for having me on your show, Paul. So my name is Dr. Shane Smith. I've been an upper cervical chiropractor for just about 18 years now. So we help people. The basic way to say it is we remove interference from the nervous system. So most people that are really sick and have been sick for a long period of time and aren't responding well to traditional treatments, they kind of get stuck in this loop where they go to specialist to specialist to specialist, they do test after test, and really not a lot of solutions. A lot of tests, but not a lot of solutions for them. And so those folks we find through our instrumentation, we take a functional approach to their nervous system, and we find that most people are kind of locked into this like fight or flight kind of a status where their brain is just everything the brain is attempting to perceive is going through the stress filter, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I liken it to having if you're driving your car, when you're on freeway speeds, you might be at like 2,000 RPMs, but someone is locked in this case, they're at like 5,000. They're not quite in the red, but they're close. They're just humming along. And so they kind of burn out. And that is the impetus for a lot of these different diseases and disorders and dysfunctions that they struggle with. And through our treatment, when we remove that interference and allow them to go back into a calm state, lo and behold, the body really does know what it's doing. We set the stage for it to be able to heal.
Sounds awesome. What do you do to help people? What sort of therapy do you give them?
So we call ourselves upper cervical, and that just refers to the top two bones in the neck. The top of the neck means this upper cervical area. We look at that we use digital infrared thermography to figure out when someone is in that state, that neurological state. That tells us when to take action and make that very specific adjustment to them. How we find out how to adjust them, we actually take three-dimensional and motion X-ray of the spine, and we can actually watch them move and prove which direction those joints are fixated in, and then we create the adjustment specific to that individual. So now we know when and we know where, and so if you know those two pieces, you can pretty much tackle just about anything. So it's a great thing to be able to offer someone and literally in black and white show them this is where it is, this is when it is, and this is how we fix it.
Well, that's awesome. I can't do any of that, so it sounds even more amazing to me. So I have another question for you here. We're here just to chat a little bit and to let people get to know a little bit more about you. I suspect that in building your business, you've done a lot of things to train yourself in how to build your business. One of those things might be where you go off on weekends or something to learn with other people.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times those are called masterminds. Have you been a part of a lot of those masterminds?
Been quite a few, yeah. I went through a stage, the first few years you just focused, I don't know if I left these four walls, but once we got it kind of rolling, I invested lots of time and resources into going to these courses. Some are 2 days, some are 3, some are 5, some are 7, and they all have varying topics, but the goal is always to leave better than when you came, right? So whether that is in regards to just business and finance, whether it's in regard to, could be spirituality, it could be health. I've gone to a bunch, and then the last few years I've really gone into the deeper dive, which is kind of again what's created what I'm about to get into.
Let me ask you this question.
Yes,
What's
sir.
some of the big things that you learned in some of those masterminds that really helped you progress in your business and life overall?
I think the biggest thing I learned, the takeaway for me was, I get so focused on what I do here in the office, removing that interference from the nervous system. I kind of got stuck in just that hamster wheel. And a coach of mine and a friend of mine, his name's David Meltzer. We're on a private island off the coast of Tortola, out in the British Virgin Isles. And he said, Shane, that's the same premise. You can expand your mind a little bit and think about really how can we help people remove the interference in their relationships? How can we help people remove interference, maybe in their emotional state? How can we remove interference in what's holding them back in their business? Like, the things that we all desire exist. It's just we tend to kind of screw it up.
So you
That
were at a mastermind that opened your mind to new opportunities.
correct. And so then I was encouraged by Dave and some other dear friends of mine, Sean, Dill, and Lacey Book, and they said, Shane, you have this down. Why don't you go ahead and start hosting these yourself? And so I said, okay.
Let me ask you another question. A lot of these that you've gone to are in either one, far away places, or maybe even more important, really nice places.
Yes.
What's the reason for that? How does that sort of create an environment for this sort of thing?
Well, that's just, you said the word environment. And so I grew up, I was homeless off and on as a child. I didn't have a very good upbringing. It was a pretty rough, abusive life. And sometimes it's hard to think big when you're raised, pardon me, when you're raised small, if that makes sense. You're
Sure.
living out of the back of a van, it's hard to picture big fancy houses. But when I went to these places, and they were big and fancy, two things happened to me. It set the stage for possibilities. So it expanded my mind. It expanded like, hey, somebody built this. Like somebody actually lives here and did this. So I know it's achievable. And there's nothing that person is that I can't be, that I can't do, right? So it opened up possibility into probability. And then the other thing is sometimes it made me even think, man, am I even dreaming big enough? Like some of these places we went to, is mind blowing. Like, man, maybe I should dream bigger. Like clearly there's more stuff out there than I'm even thinking of. So those are the two factors as to why we choose the places to host these events, is because it really, really opens the mind. And
Yeah, so it sets that environment and creates a situation for everyone there to be thinking beyond what they maybe came knowing.
correct. Yeah. Anything you're thinking of is not big enough.
Now, on Saturday Night Live, there's a skit about a van by the side of the road. That skit might have more meaning to you.
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah. It was an old dirt road and it was I mean, yeah, it was. It definitely did. That did have a lot of meaning to me. It was still funny. I could still laugh at it, and
It probably hit you in different ways, just than funny, though.
it did. It did at first, but I've learned over the years that I look back on that, and I have to be grateful now because you could be bitter and you could be sad and you could be all these things, but man, I'm here. I'm here. Like I like where I'm at. I've got a wonderful wife. I've been married 21 years. Like I've got three great kids, and I don't know that any of that would be happening if I didn't have those experiences to mold me into who I am now.
Yeah.
So I can't not be grateful for it. So it's molded me into who I am.
Awesome. So who you are now is somebody who's had a lot of different experiences, both on the, not so wealthy side, let's say, and doing a little bit better. And you've traveled to different sites to do these masterminds that are in these places that cause your mind to dream big,
Mm-hmm.
which all
Yep.
led you to what you're going to start to try and do on your own. And why
Yeah.
don't you share us just a little bit, share with us just a little bit
Sure.
what you're trying to do based on all this that has happened to you so far?
Sure thing. So through the tutelage of my coaches and my friends and they pushed me for a while, and I was slow to respond because I was scared and I didn't know if I believed their encouraging words. And finally I was like, I do believe them. And so I stepped into this role and am now hosting. And so I put together, it's called the Tahoe Transformation Experience. I can put the link in a comment or something. And we're hosting it at probably one of the largest homes on Lake Tahoe. We've got acres and acres and acres of private land to be on. And I think the house is like 17,000 square feet. It is massive. You want to talk about thinking big. It's definitely prime for that. We're going to tackle like a body, mind, and spirit. So each day is going to kind of have a theme. We're going to go deep into, for our guests, I'm going to order functional blood chemistry kits before they arrive. I'm going to give them some measuring devices to measure some biometrics of them while they're there. They're going to keep the device forever. We're going to do sleep studies in-house. They just wear a little device on their hand. So we're going to dive deep into their physiology and be able to give them some answers and some support after the fact. I've got a couple of speakers coming in. I've got an Olympic gold medalist and another doctor coming in to do some mindset kind of reset for them. Again, the theme is remove interference. And then lastly, on Spirit Day, I've got Pastor Brian Hall coming in. Brian Hall's a spiritual coach for some A-list people. I don't know that I can mention them, but he's a big deal. And so we're, again, removing interference that's holding you back from connecting to your source. And the goal is we want to burn the boats, as it were. I want people to show up in one way, light that stuff on, that old drama and trauma on fire, and get it out of here, and let's leave in a new direction. That's the goal.
Well, I'm thinking here, you mentioned that you would do this sleep study. Well, I like am up and sometimes I sleep great and sometimes I'm like up and down all night long. So I'm curious what mine would show up. You might think I'm crazy after doing that sort of test.
It shocks me what I see on these tests.
Yeah.
It's an
And no
underlying.
fear. Nobody should fear that. You won't send them to the funny farm after the weekend.
No, sir. No. And we offer all sorts of other alternatives compared to the typical CPAP. In
And
fact, that's
now, our folks that are coming, are they bringing their little lunch pail with peanut butter and jelly, or what's the lineup
no.
for that?
This is all inclusive. Once you buy your ticket, you leave as soon as you step off the plane, you leave your wallet at the door. We're going to pick you up at the airport, whether you fly public or private, and we'll get you to the house. We've got a French chef on deck. All meals, of course, are included. We're going to cater to the needs of our people. There'll be a little survey on what they like and what they don't like. So we're going to make sure to have all that on board. And there we have staff take care of the rooms. It's just going to be a pretty remarkable experience. All you have to do is show up and be open-minded and really be ready to learn and be a little bit vulnerable to your level of comfort and put in some work and be willing to make some changes. And we're going to hold your hand every step of the way. And after Sunday, when everybody flies home, we're not going to just say, okay, bye. We're going to keep in touch and be able to monitor you afterwards to make sure that the work you put in on the front end is going to stay with you long term. So it's not just a one.
Yeah, good. So people show up and they can leave their troubles behind a little bit and leave their worries behind, and they don't have to worry about what am I going to have for breakfast or lunch or dinner, and they can really focus their attention on being there.
Yep.
And having a chance to grow.
Absolutely.
So the main message of the weekend is to remove interference in body, mind, and spirit.
Yep, remove the interference and everything you desire is on the other side of that. We're just going to try to dig deep and figure out what you're doing to kind of get in the way of it. And then also too, like, a lot of these people that are coming, maybe they've got success in their business, but maybe they've sacrificed or felt that they needed to sacrifice their relationship with their kids, let's say, or their wife, their spouse. Let's say they sacrificed their relationship with their body and now they've got all the money in the world, but they're sick. Like, we're going to teach them, okay, the same strengths and strategies that you use to be successful in one aspect of your life, we're going to show you how to implement that into these other areas so you really can have it all. It's not a selfish thing to want that, and it's not a pipe dream. There's universal principles that kind of govern this place called Earth, and we're going to teach people how they can implement those concepts across all aspects of their life.
Sounds awesome.
It's gonna be great.
Sounds exciting. And I think one thing that is nice about your mastermind is you've been through all of these things yourself as well. So they have a host who knows this sort of thing from both sides.
Yeah, I've lived it from Yeah, I mean, pretty, like I said, pretty rough. I mean, I was doing some bad things as a very young child in elementary school, you know, because of what I was surrounded by, and I got to see what it looks like to live a life of lack and victimhood and hopelessness, and then I got to be in a position to where now I can offer that to people. So it's I'm pretty empathetic. There's not much that shocks me when people tell me their story.
Yeah.
You know, and so um I think it's a really good opportunity to share and to learn and to grow. And then the coolest thing is, I mean, we got some great hosts, but all the ones I've ever been to, the hosts have been great, but it's the people. I mean, the people that show up there, excuse me, and share their experiences and the interaction between the guests is magic. I don't know how else to put it, but that's truly where it happens.
Awesome. Awesome. It sounds great. It's in Lake Tahoe. When is this mastermind? We haven't said that. I know we're going to put a link with
Yeah.
the Facebook Live here, but when is that happening?
It's coming up. It's going to be it's May 8th through the 12th. So you fly in on a Wednesday, and then we'll fly you home on a Sunday. We'll get you to the airport.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So, Dr. Shane, you've been a great guest. I want to
Thank
thank
you.
you for joining me here. And I just want to ask any final words that you want to share before we sign off today.
Well, I just encourage anyone who's out there who's considering, you know, take a leap. Click the button, fill out the information. I'll call you. We'll go over it, see if it's a good fit. But even if it's not, put your information in there. Let me talk to you. I had a hard time personally investing in myself for a long time because I didn't think I was worth very much. And it turns out I'm the biggest asset I've got. And so the more I invest in me, the more I have to give to others. And then they give more to me, and then I can give more to them. It becomes an upward spiral. So don't be afraid to invest in yourself. Whether you come or not, don't be afraid to invest in yourself.
Awesome. So they can reach out to you just to chat,
Yep,
and then you go from there.
yep. We'll make sure it's a good fit.
Awesome. How's the weather there in California? Because I'm in Michigan, so it's a little different.
Yeah, no, we're in good shape out here. It's a little cloudy outside, but it's probably in the 60s.
A
But
little
I've
cloudy.
got
You
the
have sun all day and maybe a cloud for 5 minutes, and that's a little cloudy to the
that's a
California.
little cloudy for us. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Hey, you've been great. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And best of luck on this whole thing. I think it's going to be great and really successful.
I do too. Thank you, Paul. I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Bye,
Take care.
Dr. Shane.
Bye-bye.